Hello friends, I am Sunil Ranjan and I am an English teacher. Now in this session I have come up with the topic romantic poetry. So here I begin. Romanticism reflected all that was spontaneous and unaffected in nature and man. Romantic poets often aimed to accentuate extreme emotion through an emphasis on natural imagery. This trend of poetry followed its own fancy freely. Coleridge expressed this freedom in Kubla Khan and The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, the two dream pictures, one of the populous Orient, the other of the lonely sea. Wordsworth expressed the common life of nature and the souls of common men and women with glorious significance. Coleridge and Wordsworth best represent the romantic genius of the age in which they lived. The age too came to be known as an age of romantic poetry. The glory of the age lies in the poetry of William Wordsworth, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, Robert Southey, Walter Scott, Lord Byron, Percy Bysshe Shelley, and John Keats. Now, coming to Wordsworth. Wordsworth, the full name being William Wordsworth. His period was 1770 to 1850. Wordsworth worked with Coleridge to make literature adapted to interest mankind permanently, which they felt classic poetry could never do. They came together with lyrical ballads in 1798, in which Coleridge took up the supernatural, while Wordsworth gave the charm of novelty to things of everyday life by awakening the mind's attention from the lethargy of custom and directing it to the loveliness and wonders of the world before mankind. The whole spirit of their work is reflected in two poems: The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which is Coleridge's masterpiece, and Lines Written a Few Miles Above Tintern Abbey, which expresses Wordsworth's poetical creed and which has been considered as one of his noblest and most significant poems. One often wonders at Wordsworth's simplicity. Wordsworth attempted to free poetry from all its conceits, speak the language of simple truth, and portray man and nature as they are. There is beauty, passion, and intensity in his lines. To him, man is not apart from nature, but is the very life of her life. In his ode, Intimations of Immortality from Recollections of Early Childhood, that came up in 1807, he shows his kinship with nature and God in his poem Tintern Abbey. The best part of one's life is shown to be the result of natural influences. According to him, society and the crowded, unnatural life of cities weaken and pervert humanity. He gives a call to be back to nature to enjoy the beauty of human life. He held that natural instincts and pleasures of childhood are the true benchmarks of happiness. He believed that in every natural object there was a reflection of the living God. In his poem Tintern Abbey, the spiritual appeal of nature is expressed in almost every line, but the mystic conception of man is seen more clearly in intimations of immortality, which Emerson calls the high water mark of poetry in the 19th century. Now, coming next is Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and his period is 1772 to 1834. Coleridge was not only a rare dreamer but a profound scholar also. One finds in him the rare combination of a dreamer and a profound scholar. We see his imagination bridled by thought and study, but running very freely, as we see in his poems Kubla Khan, Christabel, and the Rime of the Ancient Mariner. His Rime of the Ancient Mariner is one of the world's masterpieces. All the mechanisms of the poem, its meter, rhyme, and melody are perfect, and some of its descriptions of the lonely sea have never been equaled. Coming next is Robert Southey, and his period is 1774 to 1843. Southey's most famous poems are Thalaba, a tale of Arabian enchantment, The Course of Kehama, a blend of Hindu mythology, and Madoc, a legend of a Welsh prince who discovered the Western world. Now, the next to come is Walter Scott, and his period was 1771 to 1832. Scott came as a major force in modern literature. His Marmion and Lady of the Lake aroused a whole nation to enthusiasm, and for the first time, romantic poetry became so popular. His poetry has a deeply absorbing story interest. His poetry is delightful and full of energy, youthful charm, and beauty. In his poetry, the interest lies in its vivid pictures, heroic characters, rapid action, and succession of adventures. The next to come on the list is George Gorton, who is affectionately called Lord Byron, and he got the title Lord, so he is more popular as Lord Byron, and his period is 1788 to 1824. Gordon George Byron, commonly known as Lord Byron, was one of the leading figures of the Romantic movement in early 19th century England. Many of his poems are autobiographic in nature. Byron is regarded as one of the greatest English poets ever, and he continues to be highly influential even today. His famous poems are Don Juan, She Walks in Beauty, Childe Harold's Pilgrimage, Darkness, and When We Two Parted. Next is Percy Bysshe Shelley, and his period is 1792 to 1822. Shelley was an English romantic poet. He was best known for his classic poems and verse dramas. He was the hero of English romanticism. His verses are full of lyricism and beauty, pulsing with the vitality for which he was known. His methods were unconventional, and in his poetry, he strove for a more beautiful and true world. His famous works are The Necessity of Atheism, The Revolt of Islam, Prometheus, and Adonis. Now, the last on the list is John Keats, and his period is 1795 to 1821. Keats was the most perfect of romantic poets. He worshipped beauty like a devotee. To him, poetry exists for its own sake and suffers loss by being devoted to philosophy or politics or just to any cause, however great or small. Never was there a poet more devoted to his ideal, entirely independent of success or failure. The poetry of Keats is characterized by sensual imagery, especially in his odes. In his striking sonnet, on first looking into Chapman's Homer, we have a suggestion of Keats' high ideal and of his sadness because of his own ignorance. Keats lived for poetry alone, and this virtue went out to him into everything he wrote. His small volume, Lamia Isabella, The Eve of St. Agnes, and other poems that appeared in 1820 is most significant. It shows not only Keats' wonderful poetic gifts, but also his beautiful and indomitable spirit. So students, here I come to the end of the topic romantic poetry. And if you listen to it again and again, you will understand the topic very well. If you have subscribed to my channel, it's fine. If you haven't, do subscribe to my channel so that in the time to come, I come with finer videos before you. Thank you.